Right, so in this video we're going to talk about muscle and muscle mass. Now, we all know the links between strength and strength training and various health outcomes and injury prevention and so on and so forth. But what about actual body composition? What about actual muscle mass, which obviously isn't necessarily fully linked to strength? Well, there was a couple of studies done where they were looking at the links of muscle mass in relationship to diabetes and obesity risk, so type 2 diabetes. And again, it's correlation, maybe more than causation. It could be, but maybe there is a relative causation there as well. Obviously, what they found is, as we might have expected, is that people with more muscle mass had a lower risk of getting obese, and people with a bigger muscle mass had a lower risk of getting type 2 diabetes. So obviously you could say, well, if someone is going to develop a lot of muscle mass, then they're probably going to have a good, healthy lifestyle in the main, and therefore they're probably going to eat well. They're probably going to, look after themselves, and that might be why. So that's more of a correlation based on health seeking as opposed to causation by direct means. Does muscle itself cause a lowering of them risks? Now, someone has once said, and people have said, your metabolism is risen. More muscle is more metabolically active, and that means you'll burn more calories per day, which means it's harder to gain fat and obviously harder to store, therefore, things from your insulin and so on. But I think this effect is not as big as we've made out. It is there, but it's not quite as big. What's probably bigger is the actual energy consumption to build muscle itself, and equally the stimulus effect. So if you're lifting weights, you're using energy, but then you need to convert that stimulus into building muscle, which is energy consuming. So instead of using them calories that you'd have eaten to store as fat, then you're going to turn it into muscle instead, which obviously is using that energy in a different way. So that's probably a direct effect. How big that effect is hard to say. Is there any other effects of it as well? Is there a link towards, like, when you've got more muscle relative to fat in your body actually uses calories slightly differently. So they have found this. So if someone is over a certain amount of body fat and therefore relative to the muscle mass, then their calories consumed tend to turn more into fat. Whereas if you've got more of a leaner body fat and you've got more muscle, therefore, then you tend to turn more into muscle, and that kind of does that. So in reality, it does look like there's probably definitely some correlatory, non-caused links, but there may well be some links that are related to that as well. But certainly it's another thing that shows that developing more muscle, developing more strength, generally is really good for us, and does lower the risk of some of these things, or at least has some linkages to lowering the risk of these things. But there was a couple of research papers on that, and I just thought I'd delve into them. So anyway, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.